You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding. Here are your hosts, Craig Curlop and Zeona McIntyre.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curlop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host Zeona McIntyre, aka Z Money. Z, how you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm doing better than you because I can smile.
You can smile. I can't smile. Even talking like a full, you can probably tell I'm like, am I kind of mumbling or can you actually hear me okay?
Just sounds like you got a lot of food in your mouth.
Yeah, basically, it feels like I got marshmallows on both sides of my cheeks that really hurt. I just got my wisdom teeth out for anybody listening. So that's why if you think that I'm in a bad mood or I don't look as good as I usually do, and maybe I packed on some weight since going to Hawaii, it's just my wisdom teeth. It's not actually the case. But speaking of wisdom and teeth, we've got someone today, Mr. Proven by Ruben Garcia, who lost a tooth, got it replaced, and it's got tons of wisdom. It's actually kind of the perfect transition for once. Z, what'd you think about Ruben and all that good stuff?
I love Ruben. I met Ruben at EXPCon, I think. Maybe actually I met him at FinCon, but he is part of kind of the Five Pillars family. So you guys may have checked out episodes with Shelby Osborne and Michael Gillespie. How do you say Gillespie? They are all kind of from the same group, and these guys are just killers. They stay so motivated, and they hustle, and they bring each other up, and they've all created really, really impressive lives. So definitely go back and check out those episodes if you haven't listened to them already, and let's bring Ruben on.
Proven by Ruben, aka Mr. Ruben Garcia. Welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. How are you?
Dude, so good, man. So good to have you on. I feel like we've been trying to catch you for a long time. You're like the hottest catch in the sea, but we finally got you. And now we get to learn from you. So why don't you tell us where it all started, man? How did you first hear about financial independence?
You guys, or because now I think of Fi Guy, I think of you, right?
Financial independence as a whole, man, even before me.
Yeah, so it really started to come into place when I was selling real estate. Not only selling real estate, I was a coach or a consultant or whatever, however you want to call it. And I went to a 10X Growth Con down in Miami, and I got kind of chin checked by somebody in the audience. I was like, man, this is how far I am with all of this stuff. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. He was like, let me ask you a quick question. I said, yeah. He said, what would happen if your plane went down on the way home? I was like, well, I guess I would die. And he was like, yeah, you would die. That's exactly right. You would die. He was like, and you said you have kids, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, so you're the breadwinner? I was like, I like to think that I am. He was like, okay, so what would happen to the income if you died? And I was like, it would quit coming into the family. And he was like, oh, okay, and you call yourself a father. And I was like, oh, but it hit me. Right?
Wow, that's
probably a worse punch in the face than the one you got 20 years ago.
That's right. Yeah. And, it really woke me up because he was like, you need some type of asset or something that kicks off cash with you or without you, if you're here or if you're not here. And that was the wake up call. And that day, that same day, I quit. I was I don't even know the name of the position, but I was working with a large real estate consulting company. I backed out of that. I started thinking about my exit out of the firm, which we're, part of the firm we're with now, but it was another firm. I started thinking about everything that same day, including financial independence and how to build cash flow. It was all from that one conversation.
Okay, so what year was this? Like, when did this revelation happen, and what exactly were you doing at the time?
Yeah, so that was probably 4 years ago, around
Hmm.
4 years ago. And I was doing at the time, I think I had 52 coaching clients at that time. And I was working at two Keller Williams offices being a productivity coach.
Okay, so you weren't a real estate agent yet. You were just
Oh, I was an agent.
you,
Yeah.
oh, you were an
Yeah.
agent. Okay,
hmm
so you were an agent, a coach, and this was back in 2018, right? Maybe in 2018. So
Yeah.
roughly. Okay, so great, man. So you talk to this guy. What are your next steps?
So I picked my tears up off the floor and I was like, holy crap, I really need to I need to fix everything. And, even then, Shelby was next to me and she was like, what do you have for yourself? Like what are you doing for yourself? Because I was doing a lot for a lot of other people other than myself. So all of that big hurricane tornado really got me to take action. I went back to the Airbnb. Like I said earlier, I quit that one position. It was a business development thing. I started to figure out my exit out of Keller Williams, and I also started to look at, okay, so what are my monthly expenses in the family, right? And if I can figure out how to create enough cash flow that hits that number, then at least the family would be good if I died, because the cash flow we created would at least cover the monthly expenses in our house, and that's how it started.
So then how were you going to find this cash flow? Did you already have rentals in mind, or did you have to like go and do some research and figure out like where am I going to get this income that'll be more passive?
Yeah, so luckily I was already surrounded by Shelby and Mike and Dan the man at the time, and it was a big cash flow conversation around real estate. I already had one, but that was it, and that sure as heck wasn't going to cover the monthly expenses. So we all created a passive income mastermind once a month to figure out what our goals were. We ran goal and actual every single month, but that's how it started. Was like, how can real estate get us there? But we started looking at real estate and revenue share, and just those two things. Of course, it's kind of expanded then, but those were the only two avenues that we saw that could help us cover that. It was around $2,000 a month that I needed to cover.
Awesome. And when you say revenue share, what do you mean by that?
So I come from my last firm, Keller Williams, which was profit share, and that I thought was absolutely amazing. It wasn't life-changing money, that's for sure. And I started to understand the difference between profit share and revenue share. Profit share, the office has to be profitable first. Then the profit, they have to actually split that with the investors and all of that before passing it back down to the agent. So if you could find out, it's very watered down, and it's attached to the financial responsibility of whoever runs that office. Who knows what they're spending money on, right? If the office needs to be profitable. Revenue share is completely different. Revenue share is cut straight from the top. So just as much as, let's use Keller Williams because I just used them, but they have a franchise fee, 6%. When you close a deal, you pay Keller Williams International 6% off the top. Why does Keller Williams International want it off the top? Because they don't have to worry about the financial responsibility of anybody running an office, right? And for us at EXP, revenue share comes straight from the top. We don't have to worry about the financial responsibility of anyone. The money comes straight to us, and we then can decide what we want to do with that money, and it's highly profitable.
Okay, so I love that. So you've got this two-pronged approach to passive income, right? You've got rental properties and you've got revenue share. And so why don't we dive into, we already talked about, if you're okay with it, let's talk about your first rental property.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the one you picked up even before you met this guy that punched you in the chin, figuratively.
Yeah.
Z, you know what this sounds like?
Yeah, it sounds like
Sounds
the
like the for real deal.
The for real deal.
Ruben, this is the first deal that you do as an investor, whether it's intentional or unintentional. So we want to get into the nitty gritty. Where'd you buy it? What did it look like? All the good stuff, all the numbers and everything.
Yeah, very good. So I first bought it when I was like 18. So it was a VA foreclosure. I lived in it with a buddy, and we just wanted out of our house because we were 18, right? No heat, no nothing, cigarette stained walls. It was gross, but we were 18 and we were free. So that's all that counted. And we had a blast in that house. And eventually, obviously, I moved out of that house. When I did, I had a buddy move into it and start renting it from me. Worst mistake. He tore it up. His pets tore it up. I had to actually refi the house to pick it back up to its original conditions. But it wasn't. I never thought about real estate investing, dude. It was never really a thing on my mind at all. I thought real estate sales was going to be my thing, and before that, I thought UPS was going to be my thing. I never thought about investing, so I kind of stumbled on it, and he started paying monthly, whatever for rent.
Do you remember what you picked it up for? Like how much it cost?
Yeah, it was $32,000. I want to say.
Okay, and this is back in the dinosaur ages because Ruben's super old.
Yeah, I'm like 93, so
yeah,
the beard adds age.
The beard adds age and wisdom. I don't see any grays yet though, so that's good. But when you were when were you 18? Like what year was that? Just so people give me a reference on that.
I graduated 2003, and I was 17 when I graduated, so around there.
Okay, so 2003, 2004, you pick up your first property. It's not really. This isn't even an intentional investment property, right? Because you're like 15 years before even thinking about passive income.
Correct.
And so, this is why the price is at $32,000. The numbers are just different, right? Rents will be less, price will be less. It all works the same. The concepts are all the same. So don't get too caught up in the numbers. But you bought for $32,000. It sounds like you rented to your buddy. I'm curious, and you said that was a big mistake. And I'm curious as to one, why did you do that? Did you just not know? And also are you still friends with this person, or did that kind of kill the relationship?
Oh, kill the relationship. So we are no longer friends because of it. But I extreme ownership. It was my fault, right? I didn't know what it looked like to be a landlord. I didn't know how much to charge. I didn't know if there was contracts. I didn't know anything. I said, "Oh, I have a house you could live in," and I think it was like $900. No, it couldn't have been. It was probably like $400 or $500, maybe $500 a month. And I was like, you could do that, and that'd be cool, and we'll be friends. And that was literally it. I was the worst landowner, not landowner. You know what I'm saying?
Landlord.
Landlord, thank you. I was terrible, and that was my fault. I went in there, and the pets really chewed up the carpet and screwed up everything and peed all over the place and kicked them out, and we're no longer friends because of it. But that I'll take ownership of that. That was my fault.
So tell us about how you turned it around. So it sounded like you did like a refi and pulled some money out. How much did it cost you? And then at that point, how did you rent it out?
Yeah, so I want to say I did do the refi because buying it at such a low price, and obviously the market appreciates. That's why we all like real estate. In most markets, it appreciates. And pulled the money out, got a contractor, negotiated that. Number one, learned how to negotiate with contractors. I think we paid like 20 some odd thousand to bring it back to where it was. Still had equity in the home. And what was your question after that? That's about how much it cost. And then what was your question?
Yeah. So, I mean, how much did you rent it for after that? And did you take like maybe a more professional approach of like finding a proper tenant, doing a lease, all that kind of stuff?
So check this out. I said, you know what? I suck. I need a rental manager, but check this out. I don't like the fact that rental managers check every 6 months or so, right, of the property. If this is an asset that I want to take care of, 6 months isn't enough. So what if there was another platform that we can have more inspections and maybe cash flow the same? Here rolls in short-term rentals, right? I started looking at that. I said, but damn, I don't want to take care of like towels and toilet paper. But we had a rental manager, only one at the time, that was willing to take it on and run a short-term rental. And the only reason I got into that game was because I got burned so bad that this person tore up everything in the house. I just wanted more inspections. It was not a cash flow game. What ended up happening is we put it on Airbnb and ended up getting paid, I want to say at that time on average, probably $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 a month. Revenue from that home, which is way more than what I was getting paid before. But it was purely inspections that got me into that game.
That's so random. So what year was this now? Because Airbnb started in 2008. So did you get in really, really early or a little bit later than that?
Probably a little bit later than that. So let's see, 4 or 5. Let's see, I don't know. Let's see, what's this here? I probably got into that game 5 or 6 years ago. around that time, if I'm doing my math
So
correct.
maybe 2017-ish, something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So was this before you got punched in the chin? You got into the Airbnbs, or is this after?
After.
Okay, so maybe like 2018, 2019, you kind of got into it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you basically, did you just keep this one rental property from 2003 the entire time?
Exactly. That was it. That's all I had because it wasn't really part of my game plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you didn't sell it. You didn't. I mean, there's like a million things you could like. I'm sure that was like in the back of your mind. Like, I could sell it. Like 2007, 2008 happens, or all this stuff, like all this turmoil, and you were just like, nah, we'll just whatever. It's cash flow, and that's good. We'll just hold it.
Exactly. Because my idea was, even at that time, I had a car and a truck, and the whole idea was if the car breaks down, which it would, I could use the truck. Right. There was always this back of my mind. I always needed a backup plan, a plan B. And the house was basically that in my head was like, if we lose where we're living, at least we already have a house. It wasn't an investment. It was more of a safety play.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And then you jump start and you go into the okay, let's grow, let's expand. And so like, how do you grow so quick, right? So like, I guess now let's jump to 2019 here after you get punched in the grill. What happens?
Yeah, so time on task, right? So we got together when we started realizing, this is something we need to do. We built out you got to have a goal, which ours was $2,000 a month cash flow. And I found myself around accountability partners who could care less about my feelings. And for anybody who's listening, you got to have that, right? Where you can't have somebody just pat you on the back and be like, you really tried this month. Like, nah, F that. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't hit goal. What the hell is your problem? And that's the accountability that we had and that I loved. And that's what we did. And we did that every single month. And we were able to hit goal in the first year that we focused on cash flow. So, we just started with picking up properties, turning them into Airbnbs, which were no longer, but at the time, Airbnbs. And then started really focusing on delivering value within our agents when we moved over to EXP to grow the revenue share.
Okay, so this big inflection in 2018, 2019, you moved from Keller Williams to EXP, you're getting the revenue share, you're expanding your agent team. I think that's kind of like when 5 Pillars really started taking off as well. Actually, were you part of the 5 Pillars or were you just like the mentor of the 5 Pillars?
Well, Shelby and I, we worked together when it was just Shelby and I, or just Shelby back at Keller Williams. And yep. And then when I left to EXP, she came over too and signed me as her sponsor, and then growth happened.
Okay, I see. And go ahead, Z.
So I just want to hear, like, what was the first intentional purchase? Because you guys have this great mastermind, and I know Shelby built out to like 70 units because we're good friends. I don't know as much about your portfolio, but what was that first deal that felt like, okay, I'm an investor, I have a goal, I'm looking for $2,000 a month, this?
Yeah, so remember I moved out of the home that we're talking about, which we'll just call it Odom. And I moved into a house called Lexington. And and at that time I was dating my wife and we were like, you know what? Because we're starting to create this thing. We said, let's just move out of this thing, turn this into an investment property because we looked at the numbers and it just made sense. So that became our net. It wasn't really much as a purchase as it was, let's just leave here and turn this thing into a rental and buy another home that will eventually turn into a rental too. So that started that progression. So the house that I'm actually in now will be a rental probably next year. But of course, since we've lived here, we've been purchasing other properties. But that was my next step after that was like, hey, the house we're in could cash flow and it has enough equity. Let's leave. And so we did. Yeah. And at that time, I was the CEO of that Keller Williams office. I left that position, went into productivity coaching. So it was full commission. My wife was pregnant and I went on credit cards, but I didn't care because the long-term goal, your Northern Star, was to create passive income and you couldn't allow any excuses to get in the way, even having a job, right? So I just left. We went on credit cards and figured it out ever since. Been glad I made that move.
I love it. So I want to hear the breakdown of that place. So you're already living in it, but what did you end up buying it for? What did you end up renting it for? What did it cost you every month? Do you have a little bit of those numbers in your head?
Yep. So we left, I think she bought it for like $85,000 at the time. It was a flip and it was in Hope Mills, which is a great area. And once we left, we turned it into a long-term rental because looking at the numbers, we could cash flow like 100 or 150 a month or something like that. And we said, that's cool. That's the beginning. We could start this thing out. But since Odom was doing so well on Airbnb, we said, screw this. Let's turn this thing into an Airbnb. And we did. And then before you knew it, the revenue was coming in around the same of what Odom was coming in to as well. And what I want to say is like the cash flow that we were getting, we weren't uplifting our lifestyle. We were literally pumping all that stuff into an account. And that's why we're not cash heavy, because we pump it into an account. And then we started looking at that money and saying, man, our bank accounts suck, right? Inflation's eating this thing. So if we could park this thing into an asset or a bank account / house that has a higher return on the money, then that's a good play. And that's what we need to do. So the money that we were making on both of those properties, we were just holding to look for our next property, which we ended up finding that as well.
And so the income was probably after expenses, maybe like $1,000 a month, right? Profit on each property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
for us, that
so
was like,
people,
that's amazing.
I know, it's a lot of money. Well, because
Yeah.
most people are excited about $100 a door or something like that, 100, 200. But the scary part about that is that if you have a furnace break or you need to do something with your roof, it's like you could eat your profit for the year, right? So
Correct.
it's really, it's nice when you have bigger numbers there. And then the thing I
Yeah.
just want to point out to people is that if you have single family homes, just keep in mind that there's a lot of utilities and expenses, right? So a single family home can cost you $400 or $500 a month just because you've got to get the lawn care and all of the other things, snow removal,
Water,
maybe, depending where
electric,
you
cable,
live.
if you desire to do
Sewer,
that.
trash, is a lot
the
of
whole
things.
thing. It's a lot of overhead. And
Yeah.
and we'll get into that later though if you want to, but go ahead.
Yeah, so awesome, man. So you got these two properties now. They're each cash flowing you $1,000 a month, and then you decide to move. And you're kind of like house hacking, really. Like you're, but it's not like you're kind of house hacking because you're buying the house, you're moving out, and then renting it out. And that was kind of like, it sounds like your strategy for a little bit there. But like, I know you grew from 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100 kind of thing. So like, take us through that journey of like, how did you scale? Because I know that was a big part of your plan.
So what we end up doing, which was great, is we hit goal, right? And I think the next thing is we didn't get complacent with hitting goal. It was exciting that I could die and, the family was now, at least could pay for expenses. But to surround yourself with people who say, you know what, but have you reached your potential? And the answer is no. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When you say hitting goal, does that just mean like you hit your baseline financial independence number? Or?
Yeah, the 2,000 a month.
2,000 a month.
Okay, 2,000 a month. Okay.
So we hit that, and what was crazy is we hit it fairly easy, right? It's what you focus on expands, right? And that's what we did. Your activities fill the time allowed, and so we gave ourselves a certain amount of time with this accountability group. So we just made it happen no matter what, even including going on credit cards to make it happen. We just did whatever it took. So to scale up from there, the cash that we were making, we were very disciplined on not, upgrading our life. And for me, it's easy because I didn't grow up with money, and I was like, whatever, like this is too easy not to like spend the money. So we collected the money, and what we did was we said, so my wife and I have a meeting called State of the Marriage once a month. And it's what do we want to invest in next? How do we want to scale? And so we come up with 3 options: buy a short-term rental, buy an RV, which to rent out and to scale that, or to go into partnership with somebody. We've never been in partnership with anybody, and whichever one of these happened first, we were going to move forward with. Well, within my database, somebody came up and said, hey, listen, we might think about selling our house. No one's lived in it for years. We went to go check it out. It was a disaster. It's all documented on my YouTube if you want to see a bunch of roaches and rats. And we said, you know what? We could buy this thing cash, and we have enough cash to rehab it. So we don't need a mortgage on this one. So we negotiated the price at $25,000, which, that's very, very low, but you go look at the house. And we put 30-ish some odd in it. And I think the ARV is about 120 in the neighborhood. And we put that one on Airbnb as well, was the next step. And then we just kept doing that. We just kept using that cash, finding another property that came from our own database, and dumping the money into it. So out of those 3 things, it ended up being properties that we found first. One year we had enough equity that we could purchase the RV, which we started that a little over a year ago, and that one's cash flowing well now too.
All right, guys. So I'm going to take a pause here and do a little ad. One thing that Ruben is pointing out so well is that having community around you and accountability can make the difference. And so if you guys are looking to invest in Airbnbs, whether it's short-term rental or mid-term rental, we have a group on Facebook called Airbnb Investing. So go reach out to us there. There's now 1,200 people and it's always growing. And people are answering each other's questions and helping them out, getting to know people in their investing areas and giving them a lot of feedback about what's working, what's not working. So it's a great community and I think you guys will really grow there. All right, back to the show. All right, Craig, what you got for us?
All right, Ruben. So you've having these monthly meetings with your wife. Just a quick recap, because you know how much I love recaps. You started off in 2003 with your one little rental property, not even the thing you lived in, just because you needed a place to live. That was your safety net for the next 15 years. You get punched in the chin. You're hitting goal, $2,000 a month of passive income very quickly. Now you're looking to scale, right? And so I know that you've got a handful of rental properties. You've got the RV business, but how are you growing your rental property business, or how many units do you have now?
We have 4. We only have 4 units. And
you only have 4 units. Okay.
Yeah, and this one will make 5 once we move out of this one.
Okay. And so where is the bulk of your income coming from now then?
So we look at that. We track because now we have more than one passive income source. Real estate comes in, where was that? I just ran the numbers for year to date. Came in, I want to say second place, but first place is revenue share. Okay. It's ridiculous.
Are you okay to disclose how much you make in revenue share per month?
Yeah. Well, I'll do so this year we went over 6 figures in revenue share alone. Nice. Which is obviously more than $2,000 a month. So I can literally die at any time, which is kind of cool to know that this is going to the family, which is another reason why my wife is licensed, right? Number 2 is either real estate or the RV rental. I'd have to go back and look at that and then swap one of those for third place.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead, Z.
So tell us a bit about this RV rental. You've kind of been hinting at it. What is this business and how does it all work?
Well, we decided to get into it because of the pandemic, right? The pandemic, we saw a large influx of people that said, screw you guys, I'm buying an RV and I'm out, right? And we said, well, dang, if Airbnbs are starting to get too saturated in our market, how could we adjust? Because too many people complain, right? And really there's an opportunity somewhere with every obstacle. And that's what we found. And we said, okay, let's run the numbers on this thing. And it ended up looking like a great cash flow. So we decided to go for it. We just followed the numbers and the numbers have worked out.
Nice.
So how do you evaluate, how do you analyze an RV deal? And maybe that's something that someone who's just getting started could do, because it's probably cheaper to buy an RV than to buy a house. Could that be a strategy for someone just starting out to make some extra income?
No financial advisor, but I mean, yeah, I just got off the phone with one of our agents in, Georgia, and she's literally going to an RV dealership today. But yeah, I think so. The way that we looked at that is like any other agent, right? Or investor. What do you do, right? You go to Zillow or the MLS and you just see what the market's accepting. So we went to outdoorsy.com, RVing.com, blah, 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 and said, okay, so what is the market accepting in our area? Is it a real thing? And it ended up being a real thing, but not saturated like Airbnbs in our area. So we said, okay, so if we were to finance it, it's real estate. If we were to finance at this point, what's our monthly payment? Oh, okay, that's our monthly payment. All right, is that insurance too? Okay, that's insurance too. Okay, and what if we brought in a manager at 25%? That works well too. And we start looking at all of this and you say, man, we could still cash flow this X, whatever it is a month, and we get to have an RV if we decide to, go off anywhere and test some places for guests. Yes.
Oh my God, I think it's so funny. You have an RV rental manager. Did you just train somebody to do that?
So we researched RV rental managers in our area because the whole idea is if I'm dead, right? I can't run this thing if I'm dead. And so a guy agreed at 25%. And then when we bought it, he was like, oh yeah, I can't do that. I was like, we just bought this thing. By the way, disclosure, 109 was the price of this RV, $109,000. 2021 Jayco Red Hawk 31F, right? And we're like, man, we're on the hook. But what we decided to do was say, I mean, since we bought it, we're just going to run this. We're going to build the SOP, blah, blah, blah. So if I die, it'd be easy to put somebody into place. And yeah, we did run numbers for a rental or a RV manager first.
Yeah.
And everything works well.
Great.
And so I've got a question about RVs. Like, do you get any, like I know with real estate, right? Like real estate appreciates, you get tax benefits because of the depreciation, all that stuff. Now, do you get the same benefits with RVs, or is it more of just like, hey, this is a good side hustle to get you into real estate because that's where like the real gold is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we wrote off the 100% of it first year. Now that was an option versus something else you can do because it exceeds that, was it $6,000 or 6,000 pound vehicle thing. So, and it's a business. We run it like a business. Everything, if you go into it, it is legit a business. So yeah, we were able to write that off. The cool thing is the money that we make on that RV, we just dump on the principal. So we don't see any money from that business. It literally goes straight to the principal. But if somebody's starting out, that could be easy cash flow for them to start investing with. But for us, where we're at right now, goes straight to the principal, which now we have equity in this. So now it is an asset that has equity and cash flow in it. And we're not paying down the principal, right? It's the guests who are paying down that principal, like real estate.
So let's get a little bit of the numbers because I imagine people are really curious. So you bought this one
Sure.
for 109. How often is it rented, and like what does it rent for?
Yeah, so just broke down these numbers for the person I just got off a call with, so this is cool. It rents for $220 a night, $220 a night, so we're trying to price out knuckleheads. And there are other ways you can get paid on outdoors. You can get paid through miles. You can get paid through generator hours. Like there's other ways. So there's that. We had a gross, so you got to track gross and net. So we had gross bookings of, I want to say 25, maybe around 22 to 25 gross bookings this year to date. We had 11 net. So you're going to have a conversion of 2 to 1. Two people are going to say, yeah, let's do it. One person's going to fall off because of life. So there's that. From that, I want to say we grossed around 22,000 on it. So that equals to about, if you break it all down, we net around $1,000 a month on it. But again, we don't look at it. We don't touch it. It goes straight to paying down the principal, and that's it. And it should give us about 5 years. We'll have it paid off.
Okay, and then like how much money, how much did you have to put down to like get the vehicle?
Why don't I remember that? I don't know. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at that. That's terrible. Yeah, I don't know.
I imagine it's
maybe?
just like anything else. Yeah,
5?
that
I
you
don't know.
probably could put a very little down and then have a higher interest rate, or you could put, more down and have a better
So our
rate.
monthly payments are around 7 something a month, because another thing that got me attracted to RVs, it's not like an automotive loan, right? It's not like a 6 to 8 year loan. This thing got pushed out, 10 or 12 years or something like that. Again, I got to go back and look, but it's definitely pushed out for RVs, which obviously pulls down that monthly number, which helps us increase cash flow.
Right.
So who's paying for like gas if something goes wrong when they're driving, if there's an accident, like when I think of like a thing on wheels that moves, I just think of like something that's just going to keep breaking down, like a tire is going to blow, the toilet's going to go, whatever, all this stuff. So like, are you having to factor in a big cost there, or is that something that the guests pay?
Yeah. So sounds like real estate, right?
Yeah.
Same deal. I mean, yeah, we've had a lot of issues with it because although it's brand new, they threw these things together because of the demand after the pandemic, right? These things aren't made like they used to be. We have had problem over problem with this thing. It's all under warranty. So thank you. That's awesome. In terms of the gas, you have to fill it up before you return it. If you don't, it's $100 charge. So everybody fills it up. So when I get it, it's filled up. And guess what? When the next guest takes it, it's filled up, right? And they run into that same charge as well.
Okay, my question is around cleaning, because I know that's kind of a pain, but if you have it I guess you could just have a cleaner that shows up, right? So how do you guys manage that?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question after answering one of Craig's questions that I just left out, which was basically the liability. Great. And that's my fault. I'm sorry. It's the liability, a thing on wheels. Could something happen to it? And of course, right? So we've had someone hit a quick stop with it. We've just had some stuff. But just like Airbnb covers your properties up to a high amount, so does Outdoorsy.com. So that and the insurance company we use, they said, since you're going to be renting it out, you have to put it on Outdoorsy, and that's how we'll cover it to a certain amount as well. So we're well covered on the insurance part. We're good there. We made sure that the numbers worked behind all that, and Outdoorsy would support us. So now back to your question. We clean it. So this is what we do. We could pay someone to do it, but you got to think, this thing is 200 square feet, so it's not a house. It's a very small thing, but it is on wheels. So we clean it for now, but we have this thing. So as you return it same day, it basically says, make sure that you clean this, and we give them a list of things, take out. Same thing, Airbnb, right? So think Airbnb, we do this so you don't get $100 charge. So everyone cleans it up. So like when we go in there to clean, it's a couple wipe down things. It is not what you think it might be, because we've learned to prep and to educate our guests to clean it up before we show up, or you will get charged. So yeah.
Okay. I just feel like I have endless questions about this. But
bring it on.
What about
Let's go.
black water and filling up the new water and the propane tanks? It just seems like all that stuff is a lot of running around and pain in the ass.
Yeah, so the guest has to dump both black and gray tanks. If they don't, that's $100 charge as well. So those are empty when we get it. What was that? Oh, propane. So propane, yeah, they that's a charge to them if it is empty. But you'd be surprised on how efficient it is. It doesn't use propane. For a year, and how many people we've had, we probably filled it up 4 times. So once a quarter.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
Mm-mm. But the guest has to be responsible for the tanks. If not, they get charged $100.
So do you basically have them fill it up? Like you give it to them full, and then they have to fill it up when they're done?
No.
Ace Hardware, or how does that work?
So the black tank is poop.
I'm talking about the propane tank.
I was like, so we try not to fill that up for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the propane. So the cool thing is the location that we're in right now, which is why we bought this property, because we knew it'd be a great rental property. Also, another great thing is we're right next to 301, which is a major highway, but Camping World is literally 3 minutes from us. So we just can dump it there or fill the propane there. And it is literally right down the street for us. And that's how we do it.
Perfect.
Cool.
And so what does it look like if someone wanted to scale this? If they wanted to have a fleet of RVs instead of rental properties, would you recommend that? Or is it just kind of recommend it's kind of like a fun little side hustle, probably not the end all be all, but it's cool to bring in an extra $20K a year or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I would say, assess your own goals. For us, no, we're not going to scale that. I mean, for us, we're going to dump more money in real estate. This is a hedge against Airbnb inflation in our area, I guess, right? It's a hedge against someone who wants to move and not be tied down by a real property. That's all it is for us. Now, for somebody to scale, absolutely, they could scale this just like real estate. But for me, there's so many more benefits in investing your money in real estate over an RV. And that's just because of my own goals. But you'd have to assess that. But yeah, absolutely, you could scale this 100%.
So let's talk about some of those benefits. What are the benefits that you're seeing in investing in real estate? If somebody's kind of on the edge right now, thinking about that or doing something else, why invest in real estate?
It has to align with whatever their goals are. If they desire to kind of live a mundane life, and not to knock that or anything, but kind of comfortable where they're at and they are going to die happy, fantastic. For us, we find that we work hard for our cash, and to once we get that dollar bill, for example, to hold on to it and turn it into mattress money doesn't make sense, because what we just worked hard for is dying at 12% right now because of inflation. So that we take that we take that as a insult. So we're like, where could we park our cash? It's definitely not the bank, right? So when we look at real estate, we're also, I would say one of the majority of things we're looking at is where can we park our cash to where we have something that can give us a much higher return on the money we just worked so hard for. Hashtag Billionaire Row in New York. We got these tall towers of real property that nobody lives in, but billionaires are buying them up because they're dumping their cash into real estate because of the appreciation and the cash flow when someone rents it, blah, blah, blah. Same deal for us. I'm just not a billionaire. So we're buying these real estate. We're buying real estate. We're dumping this money into an account called real estate that gives you a higher return. That actually you got people paying down, all this pays down the principal. So now we got this magic money thing that happens. Like for the house we're living in now, in 4 years, we have $100,000 of equity. That makes no sense. How did we make $25,000 a year that just vanished into something called equity? It's made up. It's weird, but real estate gives it to you. And if it gives it to you, why not take advantage of it? Also, the depreciation you can write off. Also, the damage done by renters. Also, the overhead that we pay every single month for these Airbnbs. So not just the cash flow because of the high return, because it's a bank account we're looking at it. We're also looking at it as a net worth play too. And just investing in one home gives you all of that. So why not? Yeah. We can either put it mattress money, we could put it in the bank, or we could put it in real estate. And if you write a pros and cons on all three of those, you might just find real estate's the pro.
That's right. I do know all that, but not everybody listening knows all that. So I appreciate you for going down through it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. And obviously, we're big real estate. Sorry, Z, but I just want to just affirm what Ruben is saying, how we're all big real estate people for that very reason, because there's really no other investment vehicle out there that spits out dividends like real estate does, where that same asset also appreciates like real estate does, because all the stocks that yield dividends don't really appreciate. I've got a few of them, right? They go up and down 3-5%. Real estate's always going up. All the tax, and not to mention that, but you can buy real estate. You can buy a $500,000 piece of real estate for like $25,000, right? You can't buy a $500,000 of anything for $25,000. So again, just love this whole real estate game. Sorry, Z, I cut you off because I was getting excited from what Ruben was saying.
No, you're chilling. I just want to hear what's next. Before we wrap up and go to the final part of the show, where are you guys putting those meetings now? Like when you're sitting down with your wife, where are you guys headed? It's
exactly what point us in the direction of what's next, right? We have our state of the marriage. So we come up with a few options and we decide which one we're going to do. Right now, this year was stabilization. So a lot of money to stabilize your stuff. Because when you just dive into it, you just go for it. You just lean into it and you don't realize what all the stabilization, trust, S corps, like all that madness. So now what we're going to roll into is two things. One, we have a net worth goal that we want to hit. And then also we want to purchase a property next year. So this property will be the rental, and we're actually just going to purchase a property that could be our forever home. And fast forward the 5-year or 4 to 5 year-ish thing, we're going to use the RV to travel and go to schools and talk about entrepreneurship. And we're going to go to real estate firms, no matter what firm, and just teach them how to scale a business and all that. So we're just going to hit the road and give it all away, basically.
I love it. Yeah. That's what is better than that, Giving back. Feels good, huh?
It's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I'm on y'all's podcast, right? Got to give it away. Give it away.
Give away the shit. Love it, man. Always so generous. That's why we love you so much. One of the many reasons why we love you so much. All right. Well, Z, are we ready to head into
the final four?
The final four. Z, kick us off.
All right, Ruben, what are you reading right now?
I'm not reading because I'm not a reader. I will fall asleep mid book, but I am listening.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's blurry.
No.
David never finished. It's David Goggins' new book.
Sweet.
Okay, nice. How is that? Is it as good as his first one?
Yeah, dude, it's really good. I love it, man. He hypes me up. So
Is it as good as Can't Hurt Me? Because I didn't think you could get better than Can't Hurt Me. I was afraid it was going to be like a hangover thing.
He says that in the book. He says, man, I didn't think anything could touch Can't Hurt Me. What it does, at least and where I'm at in the book, it exposes a lot more of his journey to writing the book, his health problems that he ran into, where he's at now in terms of the accountability of how he has to keep this thing moving forward because he can't, he inspires so many people. So what does his day-to-day look like now? A lot of demons he brings up that he didn't have in the first book, although I don't know how you could beat everything he went through in the first book. But I'm only, let's say, 1/4 through it right now. But I love it, man. Hearing him and he's even got this one, and I don't know how deep you want to go. He's even got this one thing of like, how can you expose your own demons? And he does a lot of that in the first book. But this one, man, you know what he does? He listens to his comment, or he reads his comments on, like he records his comments on his hateful comments on his videos, makes a track and plays it in his house and listens to his haters all the time to amp him up.
Oh,
the dude's insane.
Gross.
The dude's insane. So he goes over a lot of that stuff. And also, like, how would you talk? So that stuff that's being said to you, that you're saying to yourself in your head, if your friend was saying that to you, how would you combat that? Like, how would you say that to that person and then record yourself saying it? So now you're kind of coaching yourself. He's got a few things like that. I love the book. It's a good book for me right now.
Okay. That's good, man. That's good. Yeah. I think David Goggins knows how to hype anybody up. But it's interesting because, yeah, like once you get to be that hype man and you're running ultras every other month, like you got to kind of, he's like pigeonholed himself to having to keep doing that even through like his older age. So,
yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, like for all the new investors and stuff, you're going to need that. For you to say that you don't have like a circle like the circle that I explained. When I first had a circle when I got my real estate license, I created my own circle, right? Like I had the David Goggins, the Gary V's, the Jim Rohns, all those people. You could create your own circle even if you don't live in a place where you could physically create your own circle. You can listen to these people all day that push you and tell you to exceed and tell you you're being a little right now and that you can do more and you can do more and less sleep's okay and the grind is worth it and so is the hustle, right? Like you can have those people in your ear at all times telling you, and in the future, you will upgrade yourself, which will upgrade your circle naturally.
Love that. Awesome, Ruben. All right, man. Tons of advice that you've got and you've given, but I want to know what the best piece of advice you've ever received is.
Man, so many pop up in my head. The best piece of advice, I think about probably some of the riskiest things you've ever done, right? And it came from some thought, and the thought probably came from someone's advice. And I think one of the things that I keeps resonating with me is you can never control so I was talking to this old Mexican dude named Pedro in our market that came from the fields and retired a millionaire in real estate. And one of the first things he said was, you can never control the first thought in your mind, but you can always control the second. And at that time, you have all this self-doubt. Will you make it? Was the risk worth it? And he basically said, I had all those same thoughts. You see the end result now, but what I had to tell myself a long time ago is that I can't control the first thought that comes in my mind, which is probably negative, but I can always control the second. So beat up that first thought with your second thought with something positive, something that's going to uplift you. Even if you don't freaking believe it, who gives a, like, who cares? But you have to, just like working out in the gym, you have to work out your brain because y'all have all heard this. It all starts here. That's why it's Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, right? You gotta work on this bad boy first. And at a young age, I needed to know that and hear that because my thoughts were my reality, and my reality was I'm going to be where I'm at forever, and I'm going to die at this company I don't like, and I'm not going to be there for my kid because I've worked so much, and that's what I needed to hear at that time. And then shortly after, I built a plan to quit UPS after 12 years and go into real estate.
I love that, man. I've never heard that piece of advice, but it's so true. That first thought, you can't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's great. That's why we ask it.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3. What is your why?
Yeah, so that thing changes. So we call
Sure
it your
does.
Northern Star, because my why was I need to create something in case I die. Right, that was a huge motivator that pushed me. The why now is honestly starting to figure out how do I, in a purposeful way, give to enough people that I could die and my name never dies. Because they say you die twice, right? You die physically, and then you die when the last person says your name for the last time on earth. And, Lincoln will never die, right? These people are stuck in history because of what their impact was. And I'm wondering if that is what the RV is going to be for us, my new Northern Star, which is give it all away. How can I give it all away and literally change people's family trees through what we teach and what we hold them accountable to? But I need to go out in the field and I need to make that happen. And that's another side reason why we bought the RV.
I love it. Yeah.
Love that, man. Very deep. All right, man. Last and final question.
Okay.
If you were to spend your 30s in any decade, what decade would that be?
What do you mean? In what decade?
If you
Like
were
a
to spend
time
if you were to
period.
live, in any time period, like if you were
Okay.
to live the years 30 to 39 in any 10-year period, what 10-year period would that be?
I would love to see, so this would be two things. I would love to see my great-grandfather struggle and make it. Because he was German. He came over here with nothing and became a millionaire. And that was a hustle as an immigrant. And I want to see the struggle, the hard. I want to be with him through those first 10 years of nothing to something. Whatever year that was, I would love to sit with him and watch his tears, the people stabbing him in the back, and just being there for him of whatever that capacity is and see what that looks like. I think that'd be really cool, which here goes the second thing. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see we're documenting our real estate investments. There's a reason for that. The fact that I want to see, and I wish I could have saw my great-grandfather create what he's created. I want to be that great-grandfather for somebody. And I want them to be able to see the journey from suck to being backstabbed, to firing people, to character assassinations on me, to all of this struggle to get up to that certain point. And that's why I'm documenting everything on YouTube. Yes, it's cool leverage, but how cool is it when my kid's kid is able to go back and watch what the family did and what it tried to create at such a long time ago, and know that piece of property that they're getting isn't just a piece of property. How many of y'all know it takes 2 generations for someone to start getting rid of someone's property that they work so hard for, right? So if we could create a story and actually show the struggle to show what it took to get to that point, I think that's where I then come in of that question you just asked, that I can show what it took those 10 years to create nothing to something. And YouTube's going to be the leverage for that.
Cool.
I love that, man. You're looking at another level of deep. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Final question is, how can people find out more about you?
Oh, I'm everywhere. I try to be. Proven by Ruben. So just Proven by Ruben everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. It doesn't matter. Just look me up on Proven by Ruben. If you want to really kind of get a hold of me, DM me on Instagram. I think that's the best way. But just any of those avenues, it's all good. I give a lot away.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely hit up Ruben if you ever need any sort of advice for real estate investing, you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent. He's just, dude, you're the man. And I think you give good vibes to everybody. Sorry I can't smile this whole thing. You probably think I'm like doom and gloom right now, but these wisdom teeth got me frowning the whole time because smiling hurts real bad.
Well, thank you for making it here, man. And I get to smile big because I got a new tooth.
Yeah, you took one of mine. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, so good to have you on the show, dude. It's been, again, a long time coming, but so glad to have you. Definitely worth the wait. And yeah, man, I'm sure we'll be in touch and seeing you soon.
I love you guys. I love everyone out there.
Thank you.
Take the first step. That's all it takes. Just take the first step.
And that was Ruben Garcia. Proven by Ruben, aka Z. What do you think about Proven by Ruben Garcia?
He's got so much groundedness and wisdom. It seems like he's just got the perfect balance. I just love just listening to him and seeing how he's really planning things with his family in mind and working together with his wife. It seems so great. I am in a space right now in my life that I feel super imbalanced. There's been a lot of really good stuff that came in from the book launch, and it's also really, really busy. So I just admire someone like Ruben, where I feel like he really controls his calendar and he makes space for himself and holds really, really tight boundaries.
Yeah, one thing I really love about Ruben's story is that he said it. He did 12 years at UPS in what seemed like kind of like a dead end job, before really taking that jump into real estate. So that's like 12 years is a long time, right? Think of where 12 years ago, I graduated high school, like there's a lot that's happened in the past 12 years. And so like, just because you're maybe starting off a little bit later than somebody else doesn't mean that you can't drastically change your family's trajectory. Like look what Ruben's done just in the past 4 years, just through some rental properties, some Airbnb, and now, going all out being a real estate agent and being a mentor. And so like, I just love his story because it really does come from kind of like humble beginnings in a way. Like, I don't think he was like destitute or poor, but he wasn't leading a fulfilling life. And now he's got the wisdom. He's so eloquent and can basically tell you what he's thinking very clearly. And he can coach a lot of people. He just, like you said, he's so grounded and knows what his North Star is, and everything he does just is going towards that North Star.
Yeah, and bonus, if you are a real estate agent and, right now, maybe things have slowed down a lot for you and you want to just refine all of those principles, reach out to Ruben because they have a whole coaching program for agents. And these guys are masters at doing agent attraction, so building out your downline, and also just selling homes and having great systems. So that is a great advantage.
100%. And also, if you like this episode or you like our show, you've been listening for a while, please, please, please leave us a rating or review on iTunes. It totally helps us out, brings more listeners to the show. And also hit us up on Instagram. I'm at the Fi Guy. Zeona is
Zeona McIntyre. And we will see you next week.
Woo.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.